Hello and welcome to the lecture on online security. So when we browse the internet, a lot of times there are untrusted or unsafe websites which can basically install malware payloads onto our browsers and from there on onto our systems. So we have to be very careful as to what types of links we click, what are the types of websites that we're visiting, and where are we downloading the software from. So in this lecture, we're going to explore all these kinds of issues and what are some of the security tips that you can take. So the basic idea is that, as an end user, one fine day, you fire up your laptop, you open your browser, and, you visit an untrusted website. Now, why would you visit an unsafe website? Well, there could be a couple of reasons. One could be you may have received a phishing email which included a link to this malicious domain. And it enticed you to click on it by promising maybe a reward, a prize, a bonus, or anything, right? Another option could be, you may have found this link maybe browsing on any discussion forum or other websites. And, at the end of the day, you basically land on this website. Now, the problem with these type of websites is that they have these malwares, which are basically scripts. And since your browser is supposed to run JavaScript, so they sort of leverage this issue and they try to install malware onto your browser and from there on onto your systems, right? A lot of times this malware can also come as browser extensions. So browser extensions are small pieces of software which get installed into your browser, and they facilitate things like, for example, you may have a plugin to convert, for example, any file to PDF or download videos, those kind of things. But those are the ones that you have purposely installed, right? In this case, the malware can get installed silently as a browser extension or in any other form without your knowledge, okay? So as a result, this malware infiltrates your system and then, you'll have all sorts of issues. Interestingly, as an example, in 2020, Microsoft investigated the Atrozec drive-by download campaign, which basically infected Chrome, Edge, and Firefox browsers. So they carried out an investigation over 4 months, and here are some of the worrying facts that they found out. They identified 159 unique domains, which were continually distributing hundreds of thousands of malware samples. Now, please understand 159 unique domains, not websites, right? For example, one of these domains, so domain is, for example, Amazon.com, for example, this is one domain, right? You could have hundreds of thousands of email addresses or, URLs or subdomains within this domain, right? Now, in this instance, they found out one of the domain hosted at least 250,000 different URLs, so 250,000 different websites, while one of the other, domain, it hosted 100,000 URLs. So you can imagine the number of unsafe websites which were actively installing malware. Moreover, it was also a bit dangerous because, these websites weren't static. So basically some would come up, go live, and then, turn off in within 24 hours. Other would stay there for months. So it was a very elaborate scam, and they were able to infect a lot of computers around the world. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea the amount of drive-by downloads that's currently happening on the internet. Another very interesting and sort of dangerous attack which is done is the cross-site scripting attack. It's also a sort of variation of the drive-by download, but here's how it actually works. So say you are on a discussion forum and someone has a genuine user, a legitimate user has posted a thread. Now, what the perpetrators would do is that they're going to just add, a response to this thread or maybe create another thread. And they're going to submit the text of the thread, which actually contains some malicious script. So instead of, your standard text like the first user had done, hello, this thread shares recipes for apple pie, etc. Now, the malicious attacker may include some actual JavaScript here, right? So the problem with this is that, the next time if anyone visits this page or, views this thread, what happens is that this code would automatically get executed and it's going to do a couple of actions without you, being even aware of it. So in this case, for example, the malicious script can get loaded onto your browser and it could steal session data. Now keep in mind, when you, for example, sign in to, let's say, Gmail, right? You don't have to keep on signing in again. Or for example, if you sign into amazon.com, your account, you don't have to sign in again and again while doing searches or doing other stuff. The reason for this is because the browser stores this sort of your credentials in a session, right? So that you don't have to do it again and again. It also uses the concept of cookies for other purposes, but generally speaking, there is some sort of data within your browser, within your browser session, which is used to sort of store your credentials so that you don't have to log in again and again. So these kind of scripts can at the least, store that data so they can get access to your passwords, usernames, and all kinds of stuff. Let's have a look at what are some of the precautions that you can take to avoid these kind of issues. Well, the first step is that you should always make sure that the website that you're visiting is using HTTPS and not HTTP. So, if you see the URL for any website, you should always have this S, and if there is an S, you would also see this lock icon. Okay, so it's very important that whenever you visit a website, it is a secure website and you're using HTTPS, which basically means that whatever data is sent from your browser to that website is encrypted. So hackers cannot simply eavesdrop on it. So this is the first good step. In fact, if you Google and other search engines, they don't even let HTTP websites, show up in their results. The second point is that you should always keep your operating systems and browsers updated. And when we talk about browsers, or operating system, two things which are very important to keep updated are, Java and, the Flash versions. Because a lot of times these two are exploited extensively by malware. You should always use and keep your anti-malware, antivirus software updated. This is also pretty important because, viruses are always evolving. They have, new methods of attack. And, malware companies, they maintain these updated databases of the new fingerprints of how, new viruses are working. So you should always, sort of remember to update and, your malware software. But most importantly, I would say it's about using common sense. So for example, if you see any suspicious extensions in your browser, you should disable them. In fact, you should, avoid using extensions unless you're very sure of, the authenticity of a particular browser extension. You should never click on, untrusted links. You should never, try to download softwares off unsafe websites. If you want to download a software, you should always go to the official site of that, company. So these are some of the precautions which you can take to significantly enhance your online security posture. With that, we conclude our lecture. I'll see you in the next one.